Hey guys, it is August 16th, and I just wanted to um, talk about a few things. I apologize for my voice. I think I apologized last time. And anyway, I hope I can project it enough for you guys to hear me. So I'm doing this video. I'm not the kind of person that gets money off my videos or tries to do titles um, that'll be exciting and people click on it and stuff. I'm basically just a plain Jane kind of guy and just tell it like it is from my point of view and my experiences. And so I continue this channel, although I'm already, I think I'm going on 13 years, 12 years this December of, no, 13, well, I don't know, 12 years, something like that, of transitioning. Uh, And I feel like my transition is done. However, as a human, our transitioning is never complete. We should always be learning. We should always open our eyes to new things. We should maybe reminisce on the past to show where we've come from and where we are now. I do a lot of self analyzations. So, what I mean by that is, I'll take a look at myself every once in a while and if I've interacted with people and how I did and did I make, because I'm a very strong personality and I come from a very opinionated family and I have really tried to work on that. Uh, my ideology having to be the one seen and or my opinions having to be received. Um, I don't think that way when I'm talking, but I know from experience, my family, when I'm talking to them, they're very close minded and they don't really grow. Maybe they do in their own way, but things have not changed with them in the way they look at things since I've known them, if that's the easiest way to say it. So I'm doing this video to give a shout out, or I just let me finish. So I'll do that every once in a while, and I'll ask myself, have you have you gotten down or have you gotten judgmental, especially with the MAGA movement that's going on? You tend to look at people, and if they fit that profile, you kind of judge them. And Tony and I had to step back and take a look at ourselves because we're in an area where everyone looks like the MAGA people, and not all of them are MAGA, and I know that. So I've had to take a step back, and when I start to see someone like an older white male, and he's got the long beard and cowboy boots and hat on, and I have to stop myself and say, okay, not everybody thinks that way or feels that way. And I can tell you for sure, I know that because I subscribe to, I think his handle is Blue Dot in Texas, Blue Dot Texas. He's in southern Texas, and he's a Democrat, and he's got the long, and he wears a cowboy hat and he talks like a Texan and he walks like a Texan, but he don't think like the average Texan. And I can say that because I have family in Texas and they all think that conservative way and stuff. So anyway, that's what I do for myself. So I try to stop when I see people in fitting what you see on TV and stuff. Yeah, so we are surrounded by them, and there we have a community Facebook page where we can report things like dogs loose, animals loose, somebody came on my property, and those kind of things, alerts and stuff. And there's one person that I actually worked with that is friends of mine on Facebook, and they spew she spews the MAGA rhetoric, and people all uh, her friends all comment to that on her side, and that's why I don't really go on Facebook anymore, because it's not just the MAGA movement. It's people thinking that they have some right to tell people how wrong they are. And people that usually do those kind of things have no reason to talk if they looked in their own backyard. But people have just gotten more mouthy, disrespectful, and I guess I shouldn't even say they've gotten more. This is just the generations, because I know for my generation, we were taught to have a closed mouth around adults, and to respect adults, and to respect other people, and that kind of thing. And you know, um, none of my siblings that I know of will come right out and say the kind of things on Facebook or social media that has been said in that way. So, um, anyway, I've stepped away from social media, and I am a lot better off without it, honestly. I check in once in a while for my family. I have um, my aunts are still alive, and they're in Tennessee, and so I check in to see how they're doing, if anything's been updated or whatever it is, the purpose. But that's why I do it. But anyway, I wanted to do a video thanking the LGBTQ community. I know there's other letters added to that label, but I'm not in touch with what all that means. Uh, when I was a young adult, the LGBTQ community was all there was, and those are the people that generation, or generations of people, I would like to do a shout out from me personally. I think the whole LGBTQ IA or AI plus, I think that's something like it is, um, because there are a lot of individuals that really support each other, and really help each other in an indirect way that they may not even know. So where I'm coming from that is, I went right from high school, graduating high school, to in a relationship with an older woman from June right in about October. And I moved out of town. I was raised here where I live, and I moved out of town to move in with her, and she had two kids. And what drew us together, she was a heterosexual. What drew us together was, she taught me to look beyond the walls of the Bible, of what they preach, what, the black and white teachings. And she taught me that it's okay to feel the spiritual part. And I've always felt that, but I never knew a name for it. I was raised in a black and white church, and there was no gray areas. And I was taught what I was taught was written in stone, and I never did agree. I just remember as a child just thinking, this doesn't make sense. But when I was young enough to be in Sunday school, and I would color pictures of Jesus and the sheep, and how they tell you stories of how Jesus loves everybody, that felt good. But when I was too old to, to be in Sunday school, and I went right to church, um, I just couldn't get it. It just defied everything that I felt inside. And in that relationship, when well, so I'm thankful for that relationship, but it did have a bad ending for me, and I came back in town because we had bought a house out of town, and I came back in town and sold my share of that house. So I was back in town, and I had no one to relate because I didn't even have no one to talk to about us. I didn't know what us was. I eventually heard labels, and I remembered the scriptures that were taught off the pulpit, but it didn't touch me. It didn't. I didn't feel wrong. I never felt wrong, and then I started justifying it. Well, I'm not bisexual. They have a choice, and then that got too old for even me because I realized, wait a minute, what are you doing there? So anyway, I happen to have met a few people. Well, I went into another relationship with another heterosexual woman for 6 years, and that lasted as long as it did because I felt that I would fail, but I was not happy. So one of the times that I felt like I just needed to leave, I packed my stuff up and told her I couldn't do this anymore. My dad had just died of suicide, and I had to reevaluate my life. I was not happy. She was tearing me down emotionally, and I wanted to be with people who understood me. And so she actually looked up gay bars, and she offered to go with me, and I thought, okay, maybe we can make it work doing that. So we did go to the gay bars. We met a lot of nice people, and but us only lasted maybe a year, year and a half, 2 years more, and then I just couldn't do it anymore. I wasn't happy in the relationship. So I had some people I could talk to out of that relationship, which I didn't have before, and I became friends with some good-hearted women, and I was not attracted to any of them, but I felt like we had a bond. And I started saying, well, because in my mind, see, I always didn't feel gay. I felt like I was heterosexual because of my identity, but I didn't ever know how to explain it and how to approach it. So I remember telling myself, well, the gay world is closer to me than the heterosexual world at the time. And so I lived another, um, I don't even know how many years, maybe, let's see, almost 20 years, uh, trying to find myself, a couple of different relationships and stuff, and just never felt, you know, that kind, and never found somebody who really uh, got my attention like my first relationship did. And she was basically not as gaudy, but like a lipstick female. So anyway, I just couldn't relate to anybody. And then by the time Tony came, my wife, uh, I just thought, Lord, I don't know how to keep doing this. And she was pursuing me, and I wasn't really physically attracted to her, and thought she was too tomboyish, and thought this is not what I feel to be with. But I prayed, and I just, because God has always been the divine, my spiritualness, my comforter, has always comforted me in times when I had nobody to talk to and didn't understand things. But I always felt like I was okay. I always felt like it's going to be okay. I even had I even showed up at the mortuary where my dad is buried, and sat on his grave and said, just take me now. And I was pretty drunk. I thought, I actually kind of passed out a little. I don't think it was very long, but it was dark. But during that time, I was passed out. Uh, my dad came to me, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "You're okay. You're okay. And I love you. just the way you are. And that was a release for me, something I can't explain, but it freed me even more just to go forward in what I'm doing in life. I still didn't know anything about gender identity, and didn't know, I knew how I felt inside, but the I started just I just developed very strong relationships with people, the community. As some of you watching, they're in the LGBTQ community, that we have a group. We're a little, social group, and there's a community of us, and we all can look at someone and know if they're family or not. And so we'd hang out and we'd have football together and we'd do that stuff. And then when I met Tony and she pursued me, I kind of just said, Lord, I'm not ready. And I was going to school actually for the Department of Corrections. I was trying to get ahead on some of the testing that was going to be done, because once you're tested in the PCA 32, you don't have to retake that. So I was basically doing that. So I was 4 nights a week for 4 hours, I think it was. Yeah, something like that. So I was focused on myself. I never had put myself first, never in my life. And I finally came to a point where I said, I need to put myself together and not just feel like everybody needs me, and I need to help somebody, because I was in a couple of relationships like that and they just never worked. And so that's when I met Tony, and we met her through a mutual friend. And we went to a few places together, and I knew that she liked me, and I felt uncomfortable because I didn't have that same feeling at the time. And then one night, and this is probably over a couple months of knowing her. One night we went out to celebrate one of her coworkers, which my friend worked with her also, so she was there. But we went to celebrate one of her coworkers leaving, and we were at a country bar, heterosexual. And you know how women get out on the floor and they dance and stuff like that. And I was watching them and stuff, and I looked over at Tony, and it was like a beam of light was around her. And I saw a feminine woman, and I said, "Oh, she does have some feminine tendencies." And not for and I felt like, don't judge her by her clothes. Uh, so honestly, that vision, whatever it was that I saw, um, it did something to me too. And so I asked her to start dating, and found that she, inside, is more beautiful than any woman I'd ever been with, and really, really cared about me as a person. And as we moved in and got together, we had a ceremony a year after we moved in together. She helped me through the academy. Uh, it was 6 weeks long, and she took care of well, she got my check, and then she paid the bills and everything, and took care of my dog, which became our dog. And so things just kind of started growing then. I've never had any. I lose words, and I'm sorry. Regrets. I've never had any regrets. Our relationship is very strong. Sometimes, since I've been on the testosterone and I'm not a multitasker, and she's a second language person, I haven't understood her sometimes, and I get frustrated with her and get a little my voice gets a little projected, and she just looks at me and just shakes her head. But she knows how to handle me. She knows how to. I'm very. I'm not as far as opinionated. That's not what I'm talking about, because I work on that all the time. But I'm a very clean, organized person, and when things aren't organized for a while, it starts wearing on me, especially if it's not something that I have control of. And it starts wearing on me, it starts wearing on me. And I'll say something like, "Are you going to ever pick that up?" I'm just like, you know, um, and I'll say something like, "You know how I am. Why do you do those things?" But I'm not compulsive. Uh, I might have been at one time. I really learned to calm down and sit back, but I think I give that to self analyzation and doing meditations and learning about myself more and understanding now that I'm. She supported me in the gender identity, the transition. She said, "How can I say no to you when that is who you are?" And that was her response to me. My family, the first thing they said is, "What about Tony?" It's like, well, what about me? What am I? But anyway, so the LGBTQ community gave me lots of support. It helped me through the depression of having the gender identity and not being seen. And there was times where I'd be in the group and I drank a lot to get over that. But I just felt I didn't feel 100% part of them. Uh, I still dealt with who I felt inside, but I never said anything. I had one of my friends, uh, one woman who was interested in me, and I had to tell her we could just be friends. But she flat out said, "You feel like a guy inside, don't you?" And I was like, "Oh, good." I didn't know how to respond because she hit it nail on. And I told her yes, and she said, "I could see it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And but the community, if you're out there and you're listening to my video, keep being who you are and keep supporting who you are, and don't let all this bad rhetoric stuff around us make you a different person. Don't let it get you sour. Don't let it get you lose your compassion for others. Be kind, be yourself, never be used and never be abused, but be kind to others and take care of yourself always. And I just want to thank again the LGBT community for what you did for me. You guys have a good day. Take it one day at a time and always make your journey as simple as possible. And we'll talk to you later.